Metro North's Bridgeport to New Haven corridor. It's a commuter rail line owned by Metro North. You can almost call it intercity because they're two of the biggest cities in the state. At 11:18 a.m. as we arrive on the platform at Bridgeport, we see train 162 arriving and departing en route from Washington to Boston. Gonna railfan the Bridgeport New Haven corridor owned by Metro North, and Amtrak is nothing more than a tenant. It's a busy stretch of track. I should see a lot of train. We'll visit all stations. We're gonna hang around here at Bridgeport for a little over an hour. Should see quite a bit of action. Electric MUs, diesels, and Amtrak. You're looking at the signals of CP 255. We're just east of it here in Bridgeport. Amidst the chirping of seagulls at 11:29, approaching is Amtrak 99 en route from Boston to Newport News. Fourth of July weekend, the consists are inflated. This has 9 cars. This is train 6518, Grand Central to New Haven, with the ever-present Kawasaki M8 cars. I wonder if these will be the new SEPTA Silverliner 6s. I know they were interested in this design. good horn. It's about the only good thing about that locomotive. This is 6918 bound for Waterbury. Wait till you hear the startup of this Brookville BL20. Doesn't sound like any EMD or GE or Baldwin or Fairbanks Morse locomotive I ever heard. It sounds like it was probably built by Electrolux or Hoover. You can form your own conclusions about the sound of that locomotive. Well, a 1202 arriving at 6520 from Grand Central to New Haven. Should hear him blow his unrestricted RS2M horn. It's no coincidence that they sound sort of like Long Island Railroad M9s. They were both built by Kawasaki.
Attention at Bridgeport, the 12:05 p.m. New Haven line train to Grand Central Terminal is estimated to arrive at 12:08 p.m. Repeat, the 12:05 p.m. New Haven line train.
Yeah, this station replaced an older low platform affair just to the east, which curved around the bend there by Peck Trestle. Should point out that if you ride from here to Waterbury, that's about 33 miles, and a one-way senior ticket is only $1.50. What a deal. I should also point out that last year, the Fairfield Metro station west of here was renamed Fairfield Black Rock. It's like a neighborhood of Bridgeport, actually. So, in essence, Bridgeport has two Metro North stations.
5 p.m. train to Grand Central Terminal, making stops at Fairfield Black Rock, Fairfield, Southport, Greens Farms, Westport, East Norwalk, South Norwalk, Related, Darien, Norton Heights, Stamford, Harlem, 125th Street, and Grand Central Terminal.
That's for train 6529. It's coming in right now. That's a real local docal as far as Stamford, but then express to Harlem 125. Compared to New Haven days, the trains look different, But the catenary poles haven't changed.
Attention everyone. The MTA Police Department is conducting random inspections of fast-pass and other bus containers.
Well, standing on the platform there is the Grand Republic arriving from Port Jefferson. They have a new ferry on the fleet, the Long Island, that was built last year. Hopefully I'll get to ride it back. One of the things I love about coming up here is getting on a ferry on Long Island and getting off an hour and 15 minutes later and seeing Amtrak trains without going into New York City. Well, approaching at 12:23 is a Acela 2248 en route from Washington to Boston, coming on track 4, so he should be sounding his horn for the platform. Speed running here. The New York-Boston section isn't as busy as the New York-Washington section, but it's respectable with Amtrak. 12:25, here comes 161 en route from Boston to Washington. Hoping on this 4th of July weekend that I might see the 642 Veterans Unit. The day is still young. Knocked down the Pro Cab at CP 255. Yeah, the locomotive is directly underneath Interstate 95, the Connecticut Turnpike. After he departs here, he'll round a sharp right-hand curve called Jenkins Curve, named after the demolished Jenkins Valve Company. Switch from track 3 to 1 here at CP 255, and his head end is starting to negotiate Jenkins Curve. As you can see, it's pretty sharp. train off of 6522 at Stratford, right from Grand Central to New Haven. Well, this is the Stratford station, former New Haven station. It was built around the time of the Civil War, before the Civil War, actually. Now, the station he has, the Station House Wine Bar and Grill. Curiously, with a Western Pacific F unit on the poster. Stratford. Stratford, England was the birthplace of William Shakespeare. Every Stratford around the world has a Shakespeare theater, but this one burned down by arsonists in 2019. One of my favorite William Shakespeare quotes, especially lately, is "Cowards die many times before their death. The valiant never taste of death but once." Well, approaching Stratford at 12:53 is train 87, en route from Boston to Norfolk, Virginia. Should have 54, the Vermonter from Washington, D.C. to St. Albans, Vermont, coming soon after. Oh, here comes 55 right now. He's going to be passing by on track number 4. If you're into helicopters, this might be an interesting place to go to. 1 o'clock, here comes 6533 from New Haven to Grand Central. Approaching eastbound on 107 is 6524, Grand Central to New Haven, framed by these classic New Haven Railroad catenary poles. The New Haven line actually goes through some pretty fashionable communities. Right here in Stratford is the first Congregational Church, which was built in 1639. Looking down Main Street. Very quaint. It's a nice day today. It's warm. Humidity is not too bad. Very nice in the shade. Nice breeze blowing off the Long Island Sound, not too far away. Well, approaching westbound at 136 is a Acela 2253 en route from Boston to Washington. Heading west on track number 2. Well, approaching westbound at 139 is train 6535 from New Haven to Grand Central. The lead car on this is one of the newest M8s on the roster, 9727. It was delivered in 2022. There are 471 of these cars on the roster. The reason why it's an odd number is because of the number of non-powered trailers. Is Amtrak 152, Washington to Boston. I just did train from 6526 from Grand Central to New Haven at Milford, Connecticut. This is another nice town. We're along Broad Street, downtown Milford, Connecticut. Well, here's a World War II monument here in Milford. I bet none of those soldiers had bone spurs. This is the Milford Public Library, opened in 1897. And not far from downtown is Milford Landing from the Hotchkiss Pedestrian Bridge, which was built in 1998. And a nice view upstream. Here comes 6528 Grand Central to New Haven at 2:14. Approaching west at 229 is 6539 en route from New Haven to Grand Central. I'll tell you, these trains do a brisk business considering how far people have to travel to get to Grand Central. From here to Grand Central is roughly 63 miles. One interesting feature of this Milford station is that the eastbound platform is twice as long as the westbound. Here comes 163 on Amtrak from Boston to Washington. That was Amtrak 164 from Washington to Boston. And you'll notice here at Milford there's only 3 tracks from left to right, 1, 2, and 4. And we're going to have a meet here at Milford at 2:53. This is 6530 from Grand Central to New Haven, and 6541 from New Haven to Grand Central is in the station. And we just got off train 6532 at West Haven Station. This station was opened in August of 2013. This is a gorgeous looking station. It was built to kind of narrow the gap between Milford and New Haven, which is about a 9-mile gap between stops. This serves the burgeoning western end of New Haven population. Should have 2255 from Boston to Washington coming in. Should be overtaking this westbound. Unlike Milford, we have all 4 tracks here. Tracks 4, 2, 1, and 3, left to right. Here comes 2255, Boston, Washington, 326. Undoubtedly, that westbound Metro North train will probably stop at CP 266 to let him run around. Well, I'm in the waiting room on the westbound platform, and very comfortable, very nice facility here. Complete with vending machines. Here comes Amtrak 82, Washington to Boston, 344. Pulling out of West Haven westbound at 348 is train 6545. New Haven to Grand Central Terminal. .349, here comes 2252. Washington to Boston, Acela Express. And shortly he'll be arriving in New Haven after his slow trip from Penn Station. Those look like add-ons to the Vermonter for Washington. 57. Coming into New Haven as we get a look at motor storage. I see a Phase 7 Jeep in there.
Please exit in a timely manner as this train is out of service and will be going into the yard. All passengers must exit here at New Haven, our final stop. Thank you for riding Metro North. Have a good day. New Haven Union Station. Final stop. All passengers must
Looks like a GP 38-3740 is back there. From Boston to Washington City here. The Vermonter should be coming in shortly. Well, here we are. This is where it's at on this route. New Haven Union Station. Always a busy place. 4:09, right on time, is train 57 of Vermonter. Coming in from St. Albans, Vermont. He's going to get an engine change here.
kill a can in this building.
There's the electric locomotive with a couple of additional cars being added. Here comes 6536, arriving New Haven from Grand Central. New Haven Union Station is served by 4 different passenger operators: Metro North, Amtrak, CT Rail Hartford Line, and CT Rail Shoreline East. Now here's the beautiful New Haven Union Station. Serves New Haven and Yale University. New Haven has a population of roughly 134,000. And for a city of that relatively small size, it's an extremely busy place, as you can see. They got trains to Washington, Boston, Greenfield, Mass, Grand Central. Lots of trains coming in. Arriving at 4:41 is Amtrak 88 en route from Washington to Boston on track number 2. All right, at 4:47, train 88 is out, heading for Boston on schedule. Well, here's an interesting train. It departs on track 4 at 5 o'clock, the Valley Flyer for Greenfield, Mass. Beyond Springfield, he travels on the tracks of the old Boston and Maine. These Valley Flyer schedules are designed for people from Massachusetts to take day trips to New York, not the other way around, unfortunately. Well, catch this 488 departing for Greenfield, Mass. Actually, I stand corrected about not being able to do it the other way around. If you take 56, the Vermonter, you can ride it up to Greenfield. You get up there at 4:22. And then at 6:05 p.m., you can take Valley Flyer 479 to New Haven, where you can connect to 67 to New York. You get back about 11:21 p.m. So if you want to risk that, it's possible. All right, 488 is getting ready to pull out for Greenfield. You know, on a weekday, you can take the Vermonter up from New York, get up to Greenfield at 4:22, and then come back at 6:05 on 479, connecting in New Haven for 67. You'd be gone about 12 hours doing that. He'll go up the Springfield line. He'll pull into Springfield, and then he'll back out and then proceed north past Spring over the CSX Boston line and head up to Greenfield. All right, we'll catch this train on track 1. It might have a crayon unit on it because both of them are up in Boston today. I mean, this is a clunker, this 165. Not only a clunker, it's a super clunker. You know, out of Boston, it makes Back Bay, Route 128, Providence, Kingston, Westerly, Rhode Island, Mystic, Connecticut, New London, Old Saybrook, New Haven, Bridgeport, Stamford, New Rochelle, New York Penn, Newark Airport, Metro Park, New Brunswick, Princeton Junction, Trent. Is this a New Jersey Transit train by any chance? Philadelphia, Wilmington, Baltimore, BWI, New Carrollton, and Washington. But the only thing it doesn't do is stop at Newark, Delaware, and Aberdeen, Maryland.
Providence, Route 128, Back Bay, and Boston South Station. The first class will be the last car on the train.
Well, I would have added Boston Back Bay. Otherwise, it makes it sound like it's a totally separate municipality. Oh, here we have a Hartford line train coming in with a beautiful looking P40. I'm not a big GE fan, as you know, but this paint scheme really looks good on it. .533. Here comes 2254, the Acela from Washington to Boston. He's due out at 5:40, so he's got a little time to kill. 147, here comes the Super Clunker, 165. No crayon, unfortunately. By the time that train gets to Washington, they'll probably have to replace all the brake shoes with all the stops he's got to make. There goes 2254. There's a P42 for train 140, Washington to Springfield. He'll be getting an engine change here, but I won't be around to see it. Well, coming in on track 14, some equipment out of the yard is going to make up our train 6555, which I'll take back to Bridgeport and hop on the 7:15 ferry back to Port Jefferson.
The Metro North, train 6555 to Grand Central Terminal, scheduled to depart at 6:17 p.m.
Well, I just got off 6555 at Bridgeport. 6:46 p.m. You saw him knock down the signal at CP 255. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tour of this busy Metro North corridor. It's like an intercity corridor between Bridgeport and New Haven. And you saw quite a few Amtrak trains too. One of the Port Bridgeport Ferry Company fleet. I'm not sure if that's the new MV Long Island vessel.
Did I get in almost?
It is. I can make out the words. It's a brand new vessel on this line. It's built in Panama City, Florida, and it was delivered to the ferry company last year. It looks a lot like the other ferries, but it has some additional amenities on it that the other ones don't have.
in any stairwells while the vessel is docking. Once again, all drivers of cars and passengers in vehicles, please return to your vehicles at this time. All walk-on passengers will be disembarking from the rear of the vessel. Thank you.
Yes, that's true. My vehicle on my size 13 feet. So, it's great. Just park your car. There's a free parking lot. If you get to Port Jefferson early enough, there's a little parking lot off Barnum Street. If you get there early enough, it's free. But if you come there this time of day, you're not going to have a prayer in trying to get a parking space there. Parking at the municipal parking lots on holiday weekends like this are expensive. Like 12 hours, it probably will cost you about $42. No thanks. That's great. Get on this boat, cross the Sound, get off in Bridgeport, and the train is right there. Unfortunately, this year, although they haven't done it yet, they're going to start construction on a new Bridgeport ferry terminal, which is far away from the train station, and you have to take a shuttle bus to it. I wish they wouldn't do it at all. I wish they just leave it the way it is. But a great finish to this beautiful summer day outing in Connecticut, checking out the rails and enjoying the high seas at sunset. Other than local cruises like the Circle Line or the Good Time 3 cruise ship in Cleveland, I've never been on a cruise. I guess probably because water looks the same everywhere. You're out in the middle of the water for days and days and days. You don't really see anything. At least here, on these short ferry rides, you get to see quite a bit. Perhaps if I was on a cruise, I probably would really love it, but I'd have to rob the U.S. Mint in order to do it. Coming into Port Jefferson Harbor, it's one of the prettiest harbors in one of the prettiest towns on Long Island. I strongly recommend a visit to Port Jefferson if you've never been there. You can take the train to Port Jefferson, but the station is actually a good mile or so south of the village of Port Jefferson. And it's a downhill walk to get to the village from the station, and one steep uphill walk to get back. So the only way you can get out of Port Jefferson is up. All roads climb steeply out of the village. I got about 8:17 p.m. on these long summer days. Community on the cliffs over there is Belterre. Very upscale community. In fact, the train station in Port Jeff is designed like many of the houses in Belterre. Yeah, we're coming into Port Jefferson. A lot of restaurants, really good restaurants, seafood restaurants, you name it, it's there. A lot of little shops. As you can see, it's very hilly outside of the village, all around. We're looking to the southwest and west. 25A goes past that white building in the background, and shortly thereafter it climbs steeply up the hill to the west. I can't believe back in the day I used to ride my bicycle on Route 25A from Northport. Oy, oy, oy. Up and down, up and down, up and down. He's firing the retro rockets. Ah, those yachts cost a few bucks. There's Kismet, Empire back there, Serenity over here. This is Danford's dock. There's a nice hotel and restaurant back there. Nice pleasant evening like this. You can bet there'll be tons of people out there having dinner. vessel is not filled to capacity tonight, the middle day of the long weekend, you can bet your bottom dollar that this same vessel tomorrow will be jammed. Oh man, there says I'm not allowed to videotape on the dock. Well, I'm not on the dock right now. A lot of people getting off of this vessel. It's a great conveyance across the Sound. You want to avoid New York City, but admittedly, sometimes it's faster to drive from where I live up to Connecticut than it is to take the ferry through here. Here we are, downtown Port Jefferson, New York, Long Island. This is the way you go to the train station, but it's a long walk uphill.